Good morning, Rabotai. Welcome to Breakfast in the Class. Breakfast in the Class today is sponsored and dedicated in loving memory, Lilu Nishmat, Mrs. Lily Safra, Lilu Nishmat Leah Badov HaKohen V'chana, for her shloshim. Her philanthropy has reached so many throughout the world. We have such gratitude to her Ruach. As well, the Cobra has been dedicated by David E. Ash in honor of you and the substantial capacity that you have to do good today and every day. My friends, we find a very interesting concept in the Parashah, which I think is very instructive to each and every one of us. Torah tells us, Ele ya'amdu levarech et ha'am. It tells us that the Jewish people were going to stand between Har Gerizim and Har Eval. And they would bless the Jewish people, and then the Torah goes on a list of things that they would bless the Jewish people. And it says, cursed is someone who hits his father. Cursed is someone who commits adultery with, etc., etc. And it keeps going through all these different things that are curses. First it says, these are the people that stand up for a blessing, and then it tells us all about the curses. So Rashi on the spot says, Lifnei she'amru arur, before they went through this list of cursed is he who doesn't lift up the Torah, Sefer Torah, arur asher lo yakim et Sefer Torah azot, cursed is he who does not lift up the Torah. Before they said curses, they said blessings. Now I have a simple question. If before they said curses, they said blessings, let the Torah tell me blessings. And if you're going to choose one and let me infer about the other one, right? Tell me the blessings and tell me that before, after that, they said curses. What do you got to throw the curses in? And I should learn out that there was blessings. And the Sepharim tell us something very interesting. They say that the list of curses here are for interesting acts. Look at, if you take a look, you wrote it. Someone sees Arur Asher Yakim et Sefer Torah. Imagine you walk into a room. You see a sidur on the floor. What do? You run over, you pick it up, you kiss it. Any normal person, that's what you do. Could you imagine, instead of a sidur, it was a chumash? Even more so, right? How about if instead of a chumash, you saw 5 chumashim on the floor? Forget about it. You run, you do a diving catch, right? Like you're a shortstop for the Yankees. Okay? Do you understand? You do anything. Now how about if it's instead of a chumash or a sidur, it's a sefer Torah? She biflij. If it's a sefer Torah, ya'ani. If it falls, we're gonna fast the whole community. Every once in a while, Sami or Haron, they ask someone to carry the sefer Torah. And as soon as they walk up to the sefer Torah, I'm thinking to myself, oh no. You see the guy, he's very skinny. You know, you give him an Ashkenaz Torah, no problem. Guy's rocking it. You give him a Sephardic Sefer Torah, solid silver, right? The guy barely can lift it. It's bigger than him. Not only that, then he tries to lift it. They're like, open it. The guy's like, open it. He's sitting there fumbling with the thing. My heart is in my mouth the whole time. And you see, as he's walking, everyone is like, ready to grab, right? 2 people are holding on from behind. Right? Who do you need to tell me? Arur Asher Lo Yakim said, cursed is someone who doesn't pick up a Sefer Torah. Who's going to do that? Not only that, who hits their father? Who does that? What are we talking to here? What kind of people is the Torah talking to? It's wild, some of the things that we feel like you need to, cursed is someone who commits adultery with their sister. Is that something we need to, announce in the synagogue? Guys, Silichot tomorrow, 6:45. Also, your sister, Mabisir. Right? Does he have to say that? And the answer is that the list of things that the Torah is talking about over here has one thing in common. And that list is that everything here is in private. Now, if you notice, it makes a mention of many of the adulterous relationships that are between family members. But it does not mention the adultery committed between a man and someone else's wife. Eshet ish. That's as adulterous as anything else, right? And yet it doesn't mention it. Why? because that takes place in someone else's house. The Torah here is listing a unique group of mitzvot. A group of mitzvot that is done in private. And when something is done in private, nobody knows if you did it besides for you and him. And those things, therefore, are things that a person is liable to do the worst of the worst because no one is watching. Now, it's a crazy thing because most of us feel that our moral character and fiber is strong enough that we're not doing it for anybody else. I remember when COVID hit. You guys remember that? When COVID hit, my kids came downstairs Shabbat in sweatpants, sweatshirts, Shabbat table. I said, "What is this?" They said, "There's no guests tonight. It's just us." I said, "When you get dressed on Shabbat, you get dressed for guests or you get dressed for Shabbat?" They said, "You're right." Everyone went upstairs. They all came down. Well, not me. I have 5 girls, so that would be weird. But they came down, dressed Shabbat, nice shoes, nice. That's how you should be, right? Understand? You don't dress up for the guests. You dress up because that's how you're supposed to look on Shabbat. And that's what we did for the duration of COVID, because that's kabod for Shabbat. So how you act when no one is watching. When you come to the knis and you pray, because everyone's looking at you, how did you pray in COVID when you were praying at home? Did it take you 4 seconds? Did you put your tefillin on, take them back off, and if you even put on tefillin? You see that's when the true character of a person is revealed. But unfortunately, quite often, we come up short because actually, peer pressure is very strong in human relationships, in human ideas. Now again, one of the things that we don't realize is how strong peer pressure is in human ideologies and dreams and concepts. And let me explain what I mean by that. My favorite example for this is in fashion. You know, a while ago there was an idea that you should wear skinny jeans or skinny pants. So all of a sudden, everyone is wearing like pants that look like tights. You know, the bottom of the pants, you could barely get your leg in. And if you sit down, then you stand up, then your pants are still stuck around your calves. You have to go like this, pull them down. Right? Who told you to do that? Did you wake up one day, decide, you know what? Today I think I'm going to get pants with skinny legs. That's what I'm going to do today. You didn't decide that. Some dib decided that in Paris. And now you're wearing those clothes. All of a sudden they decided, no, skinny pants. No, that's out. Now we're going to have wide pants. So you understand, we're these dibs walking after the fashion machine, listening to everything they tell us. Today it's skinny legs, tomorrow fat legs. And you know what we keep doing? We keep giving away other stuff because I'm never going to wear skinny legs again. But you know what? 1 year later, 2 years later, it's all going to come back. Right? Remember that where we had suit jacket lapels? They were like this, right? You know, it was wide enough to carry the Tommy gun. You know, you could hide the machine gun underneath it when you were a mobster. The zoot suit, okay? Then what happened? 4 years later, they all convinced us, what do you measure? Who wears it? You have to have lapels like this. You wear a tie that's normal size? What are you, out of your mind? You have to wear a tie that barely covers your buttons. You should see the button come out on both sides of the tie. That's how skinny it has to be. Now you wear a skinny tie, people are looking at you, you weirdo. Skinny tie, look at this guy. Do you understand me? We're a bunch of dibs. We follow. And this idea, it's in everything. It's in style. It's in the way we think about family relationships. What is a good job, etc., etc. What does a person need to have in terms of living and leading a good life? If you're in a company of people who have a ever higher demand for the level of luxury that they have in their life, you start to think that those luxuries are now necessities. And if you don't have them, you feel like a failure, number one. Number two, you'll spend more and more and more time at the office trying to chase those things. But ultimately, the only reason why you even think that you need them is because of peer pressure. The Torah, it's a moral document. You know what? It expects and demands the highest from us. But at the same time, it also recognizes the fragile nature of human beings. There's laws that you don't really understand at the time. Only later do you really understand why the Torah said it. There's laws that govern a shiva. You think to yourself, these things, what, shiva, I'm sitting here at a shiva, right? I have to be mourning for 7 days, sitting on the floor. People, why do I have to do that? What they don't realize is that the process of mourning is something that you either do in one shot, or if you don't, so to speak, go through that process, it stays with you. So you get it out and you move on in a healthy way, or you don't, and then it just hits you at random moments throughout the next year, 5 years, 10 years, because you never cried the tears that you needed to get out. You never focused enough to be able to put that to rest and move on. So these things, you don't realize why the Torah is implementing them until later. But the Torah, which is given to us by God, God says, I made you. I know how you work. I know what you need. One of the illustrations of this is a fascinating concept. During the time of Shiva, there's a custom in many houses where they cover the pictures of the niftar, of anyone that passed away. And some people do even other family member, all the pictures in the house. There's even another custom that some people cover up all the mirrors of the house. Now, not every community has both of these customs. Some people have one, some people have the other, some people have none. But I just want to illustrate the concept here. You'd think to yourself, if I'm supposed to be focusing during this week on someone that passed away, why would I cover up pictures? Why would I do that? And the answer, I think, is something that is very profound. You see, in the non-Jewish world, when someone dies, rahet, they're gone. That's why you could cremate the person, turn them to ash, chalas, with none. But in Judaism, that's not how we relate to someone who's passed on. The way we understand death in Judaism is that the person shifts, transitions, moves from being a soul in a body to being a soul without a body. So the nature and the pain that a person is feeling of separation at that time is in being unable to relate in the current state of that person. So I can't turn around to my father, to my mother and say, how you doing, how was your day? Because they're not there. I can't talk to them. But what Judaism is teaching us is that you can develop a new relationship with the person that you loved so much. A relationship which is built on the neshama, on the soul. You can still talk to that person, so to speak. They're present. They're just present in another way. And the only way to begin to relate to someone as a soul without a body is to stop seeing them as their body. So we cover the pictures. And the only way for you to relate to and connect to that is to stop seeing yourself as a body. So we cover the mirrors. What a wild idea. But you see such profound wisdom in Jewish minhagim that only when you analyze it, you start to realize how brilliant the Torah is and how powerful it is as a catalyst for self-development, for a healthy state of mind, for a disciplined and a progressive, purposeful, meaningful life. That is all present in the Torah. So the Torah over here understands that when we're talking to people who are in their private quarters, you have to be able to deal with the person without any shame, without any embarrassment, without any other factors. And in that space, the true nature of a person emerges. And when no one will find out, all of a sudden you see people who are otherwise really good people, but you see this kind of beast climb out of them. The Torah, therefore, speaks not only to the human being, but also to the primal beast that lives within each and every one of us. The desires, the drives, the lust that a person has, the Torah in private addresses those things. And therefore Torah says, if you do this, arur makle aviv immo. There are people who, when other people see them with their father in the shul, they're walking, Dad, come, sit over here. They're running to get them a siddur. in the house, that's not how they treat their dad. When the father has an aliyah, and the eyes of the whole shul are on the father, and on what kind of son they are, they're running, they're this, they give him beracha. Inside the house, they're like, Dad! Dad! You understand? The privacy of a person's home is actually an amazing litmus test to be able to discover who you are with no outside influences. When you could cheat on a business deal and no one will find out. When you could be or do something horrible and no one will know. When you can fire someone without cause and you have something to back yourself up. No one will be able to say, do, charge, sue. In those moments, the human character actually comes out. And I want to end with saying this. You know, mankind has a name. It's a name that was given to them right in the beginning of creation in Genesis. What is mankind? What is humankind called? Adam. Why is he called Adam? The Pasuk says, why is Adam called Adam? You know, if he was Halabi, it would be because his grandfather's name was Adam, you know? But he wasn't. Even though Halabi would like to believe that the first human being was from them, but he wasn't. he was from Gan Eden. If anything, he was Adani. Gan Eden, okay? My friends, why is he called Adam? The Pasuk says, because he was taken from Adamah. He was taken from the earth. So a man was called Adam. Why? Because he was taken from the earth. Now, I have a question. I want you to imagine for 1 second. I have a new invention. Before cell phones came out, I developed the very first smartphone technology. I go to a guy who's never seen a cell phone, a smartphone in his life. I tell him, look at this. You can make phone calls with it. You could drive on the highway. It knows where you are at any time. It could guide you to where you want to go. Were you crazy? You could ask it any question and it gives you the answer. You just say, hey, Siri, you know, and it tells you the answer to any. The guy said, wow, what kind of magic is this? What are you going to call it? And the guy says, I'm going to call it plastic. Because it is made from plastic. What a dumb name, right? What an uninspiring name that is for this beautiful piece of technology that you've created. God makes a human being. Is there anything more magnificent on earth than a human being? And what does God call him? Earth. Because he was taken from the earth. So there's many answers to this question. Many, many answers. But I think perhaps for today's class, I'll give you, and I'll share with you one. And that is, that if a person wants to become the very greatest that he could become, he could take himself from earth and become literally like God himself. And the Sifarim tell us that Adam also carries within it the word, not Adama, which means earth, but Adameh, which means I can be compared to God. So I can either be like a God, or I could be like the earth from which I came. But I'd like to suggest that these are not two different sides of a coin, but rather they are the same side of the coin. A person who has the humility to remember where he came from, that he was once nothing but earth. A person who remembers that at the end of their time, they are going to go where? Back to earth. That is a person for whom the possibilities of this life are unlimited. A person who has ego is very, very limited. He'll only do a deal if he gets the credit for it. Even though he'll make tons of money on the other deal. But I didn't put it together. It's not my deal. I'm not the name on the article, the real deal comes out. It's not going to have my face on it. Even though I'll make more money on this deal than the other deal that I'm fronting. That's not the deal I want to be in. I only do deals where I'm the primary investor. And my family. I don't want to be happy. I want to be right. Ego. That's a person who lives a terrible life. So when a person can remember Adam min ha'adama, where I came from, I was once a seed, a fertilized seed. And where am I going? I'm going to a 6x2 spot in the ground. Suddenly, these ego-driven choices, they don't matter as much. You think to yourself, how much time do I have here on earth? Is it worth me not talking to people that I love over some fight, usually over money? Is it worth it? If you can remember Adama, then you can become Adameh. You can be like the gods. Hashem should bless us to have the humility that, ironically, Hashem should bless us with the gift of being able to remain small, which will allow us to become huge. And that is why the Torah gives you these specific mitzvot in this specific language. May we find the beracha of being true to ourselves, even when the only person that knows about it is us. Baruch Adonai le'olam.